Hey folks, how you guys doing? Hope you are all having a great day today. Now I know that there are so many videos on the internet about how to turn a pen on a lathe, but it's one of my more commonly requested lathe topic videos. So here we go. We're going to turn a pen on a lathe. I'll walk you through the entire process, show you what you need, and it's incredibly simple. When you first get a lathe, turn a couple pens. You can make them and sell them or make them and keep them, whatever you want, but just turn a couple pens. It's a quick win project. It'll get you familiar with a couple things on the lathe, and it's not intimidating at all. It's not like a big platter or something that's easily screwed up. Pens are so small, so simple, so easy. Anybody can do it. So the very first thing, let's talk about what we'll actually need to turn a pen, and the very first thing there is a lathe. All of the products that I'm about to show you are from Rockler Woodworking and Hardware, and that's because they're a partner of mine, and they supported this video and provided all this stuff for me to show to you. That being said, you don't need 100% of everything that I'm going to show you. I just want to give you guys some options. So the very first thing that I really recommend is a beginner's pen turning kit, and the keyword there is not beginners. The keyword there is kit. This has everything you need to get up and running turning some pens. You can buy all of this stuff individually, but you'll end up saving some money, plus having a little tote to have everything, or location to put everything when it's all said and done, if you go ahead and buy a kit instead. So not a necessity, but a big recommendation. Inside this kit we have a pen mandrel. And this is the section over here that will go inside the headstock of your lathe. The wood will go onto this mandrel and be secured over here. This is what will actually secure the wood to the lathe as you turn it. Keep in mind that this particular one is an MT2 taper. That's Mike Tom number 2 taper, an MT2 taper. That's because my lathe has an MT2 taper in the headstock. Not all of them do though. Some of them have an MT1 or something else really. So verify what taper your headstock has before you buy one of these, because an MT2 won't work in every single lathe. We also have a little bottle of CA glue, which we will use to glue the tubes into the wood, and I'll show you that in just a little bit. This is a pen mill kit, and this will allow you to trim the wood perfectly, at the end of the wood, perfectly 90 degrees to one of the tubes. I sometimes use this, sometimes don't. I'll show you another method that you could use a table saw sled instead of this. This kit has 3 pen kits themselves. This is the mechanical part of the pen, what we will wrap the wood around. Now all of these in this particular kit are slimline pen kits. This is the easiest pen out there to turn. It's very, very simple, nothing complicated. All 3 bushings are the same size, and the pens themselves, the wood part of the pens themselves, aren't complicated. Just very simple, straight lines. I recommend this for a quick and easy pen, or if you want to batch out a bunch of super, super easy, fast pens, then go with slimline. I've probably turned, I don't know the exact number, 50 to 100 pens, and all but 3 or 4 of them have been slimline, and that's because it's just incredibly simple, nothing to keep up with, nothing to worry about as far as the bushings being certain sizes, and yeah, just the easiest route to go. Now, when turning a slimline pen, you obviously need slimline bushings. That's what is in this kit right here. These bushings, there's 3, all 3 are the same size, and on the mandrel it will go bushing, wood, bushing, wood, bushing. And basically you surround the wood with a bushing and you turn the wood down to the diameter of the bushing to know when to stop. Super simple. These sometimes get chewed up the more you sand and accidentally hit them with stuff, so they're inexpensive to get a couple of these extra or to replace them down the road. This kit also has 3 gorgeous pen blanks, which I was pleasantly surprised with. This is an olive wood blank, which I'm really looking forward to turning. This particular one is a bloodwood, and it's got some pretty gnarly grain, so that should be pretty awesome. And what do you know? Babinga. I love saying babinga. So we got 3 pen blanks as far as the pieces of wood, and everything else needed to turn. Handy little kit. Highly recommend it. You also need something to drill a hole perpendicular to the pen blank. So this is a small pen blank that I have cut in half, and I would typically at this point drill a hole through it to insert the tube. I have in the past used these wooden clamps all the time as kind of like a drill press vise. You just need to make sure you are perpendicular to the drill or to the table so you drill a nice square hole. And beyond this clamp, you can use a clamp like this to press the pen together. Once it's all done, you insert the pen assembly and then press it together. A simple clamp like this will get by, no problem. These two, it's probably your least expensive route, but for convenience, there's also something like this, which is the Rockler pen press drilling jig, and it's a press as well as a vise for the for the drill press. A press for assembly as well as a vise for the drill press. So after you have the entire pen assembled, you can back this out and use this to assemble the pen. And then also, while you have it on the drill press table, you can use it to hold the blank perpendicular to the bed of the drill press and drill your hole. This is what I would consider something like a convenience item. It's definitely helpful to have something like this, but if you're on a budget, you can get by with a couple of these smaller clamps. We also want some sandpaper to go through the sanding grits to take the finish from a rough finish off of the tool until up to, like in this case, we go from 150 to 600 grit before using some type of finish. And for a finish, I've always used this combination. This is EEE, Triple E Ultra Shine. And this is like a, well, there you go. There's the label of it. It's a paste that kind of gets rid of any type of tooling marks and is great at filling the grain just a little bit before you use some type of finish, and I've had great results using this in the past. Keep in mind that this has an expiration date on it, so this doesn't last forever. However, this bottle will last you quite a while because just a little bit of this is needed for a finish. Inside the pen kit, we have the ink cartridge, we have the tip of the pen, the lower tube, the center ring or bushing, whatever you want to call this, decorative ring, and the upper tube. Luckily in the slimline kit, both the lower and upper tubes are the same length, so that's very convenient. We also have the twist mechanism, which is sometimes referred to as the transmission. And this changes the location of the tip, whether it's pushed out or pushed in. We also have the clip up here at the top as well as the cap. Now the first thing we need to do is cut our blanks in half, drill our hole, and then glue in these tubes. But before we do, it's very important for woods that have grain going in all kinds of crazy directions to first make a line similar to this. And what we did here is just basically from the center of the blank in the left and right direction, I just struck a line. That way when we cut this in half, when we put it on the lathe, we just make sure that our lines are in the same orientation they are right here. And that way we have good grain consistency. If you have grain that's nice and straight all the way across and the color match is pretty similar, you don't really have to worry about that. But this has some pretty interesting, pretty gnarly grain. So any help we can get via this line will be beneficial to make sure we have a nice grain consistency from the top to the bottom of the pen. Using a table saw crosscut sled, I can cut all of the blanks in half, or I can crosscut them in half, and then use the inside face that we just cut up against the stop block on the sled to cut all of our pieces just a little bit longer than the upper and lower tubes. With all the blanks cut slightly longer than the tubes, we can put them in the vise at the drill press and drill a 7mm hole as close to center as possible. It doesn't have to be 100% dead center, but really close is what we're after. There's a couple really important things to note before gluing the tube inside the blank. Number one, you need to scuff up the surface of the tube. Just grab some sandpaper, grab a hold of it, twist it around quite a bit, do all that as necessary so that you are left with a really scuffed up tube. What that's going to do is it's going to give you a lot of scratches for the glue to really grab a hold of, and that's what you want. Now the second thing is, once glue is applied to the outside of this tube, that means it is now a one-way street into the hole of the blank. And the reason being is if there's glue on the outside here and you insert it a little bit and then for whatever reason back out a little bit, and then push in forward. What you're doing is you're adding glue to the inside of the hole on the blank and backing off a little bit, and then the tube will scrape all of that glue off of the inside of the hole and put it inside the tube. You don't want any glue inside the tube. So it's a one-way street. Just put glue on here and then twist as you insert it all the way through. So this is medium CA glue, and we'll put a little bit on the bottom, actually quite a bit on the bottom here. You'll determine how much is too much, and actually I think that was too much because I'm dripping all over the place. And then as we insert the tube, we will twist it back and forth until it is really close to being all the way flush. And then just so my fingers don't get sticky, I'll push it on a piece of scrap wood. And there you go. The tube is perfectly flushed with this end of the blank, and then we can use the mill to flush up this side. This is the pen mill that was in the kit, and it does two things. The first thing is this tip right here is shaped in such a way that it will clean out the inside of the tube. If you have any super glue down there or CA glue inside the tube, this point right here will remove it. But if you were careful up to this point, this shouldn't be an issue. And the second thing that this does is these teeth up here, as this is inside the tube, these teeth will mill the top surface down flush with the top of the barrel. One way to get around not having a pen mill is to cut the blanks to the exact same length as the tubes before drilling the hole in the blank. Now this works, but if you go this route, you need to make sure that you drill the hole exactly perpendicular to the end faces. The loading sequence for the mandrel is bushing, wood, and then one last bushing. Now the bushings here, they provide the reference for the outside diameter needed to line up with the pen kit hardware. Again, make sure that the blank is put on the lathe with the centers aligned so that you maintain grainy consistency. It's important to keep these in the same orientation when they are removed from the lathe as well. To hold the pen blanks in place, you can either use the brass retaining nut included with the mandrel and steady the mandrel with a live center, or you can remove the brass retaining nut altogether and change out the live center for a mandrel saver, and that's a live center that slides over the mandrel and applies pressure directly to the bushing. If you go the traditional wood turning tool route, the only tool you will need is a roughing gouge. With the lathe spinning as fast as it will go, the first step is to use the gouge to turn this square blank into a cylinder. Now pens are a great first project for the lathe because it's a very safe project. If you are too aggressive with the tool, the wood will most often just grab the tool and stop and then spin on the mandrel. And if for whatever reason the chip or the blank chips off or even falls apart, it won't be a crazy eventful situation because there's such a small amount of wood involved. You can continue reducing the diameter to its final size or switch over to tapering the ends down to the bushing diameter. It doesn't really matter which order you choose here, as the end result is the same. Not all pens need to be the same shape though. Some require larger diameter or longer cylinders, and that's especially true if a cap is being made. But these are slimline pens, and just like the name implies, I'm going to make them slim and with very little detail. These pens allow the wood grain to do all the talking more so than the design of the turning. I also wanted to show a carbide tool in action, so for the entire olive wood pen, I used a square radius carbide tool, and because this tool has a wide contact area with the wood, it's really easy to get a smooth face and gradual transitions that are free of tool marks. The overall shape is the same, and it's just as simple as going back and forth. With the shape established, you can work your way through the sanding grits, and I like to sand a little bit with the lathe spinning slowly, then stop the lathe and sand with the direction of the grain. And what grit you start with is pretty much up to you, but generally speaking, the sharper the cutting tool and the smoother movements that you make while using the tool, the less sanding you'll have to do. these didn't require much sanding at all. Now there's a bunch of different products and methods to use when finishing a turning, and I've turned somewhere between 50 to 100 pens, and I've always started with Triple E Ultra Shine and then finished with Crystal Coat, simply because it's really fast and it's really easy. For the Ultra Shine, I'll apply it to the wood with or without the lathe spinning, and use a slow speed if you apply it with the lathe turning. Also try to avoid the bushings as much as possible because it will turn black and stain the wood, especially on lighter colored woods. Wipe off the excess and use a small piece of paper towel or just regular paper to buff the blanks. I like to get as close as I can to the bushings and then work my way back towards the middle. After that, a layer of Crystal Coat can be applied for a greater shine and higher water and wear resistance. It's applied and buffed out the exact same way, but very little of this product is required. It's a heat activated friction finish, so a little heat when buffing is a good thing, but don't get the blanks too hot because high heat will damage the glue bond underneath the wood. I apologize that it's a little bit out of focus here, but you can see the sheen difference between just the Triple E Ultra Shine versus the Triple E Ultra Shine plus the Crystal Coat. Finally, the pens can be assembled, also making sure to keep track of the grain direction. The pen tip is pressed in first, followed by the twist mechanism, and there is a depth line or kind of like a ring marked out on the twist mechanism to let you know how far to press it in. At this point, you can insert the cartridge and then test the movement to see if the cartridge is sticking out far enough from the tip. Then add the ring followed by the upper tube, and then the clip and cap are pressed on the other end to finish off the pen. And that's it. That's pretty much it. Pens are incredibly easy to make and make great quick win projects that you can give out as gifts. And if you've never made one, I suggest giving it a try. Now, you don't need a huge lathe, and there are a lot of inexpensive MIDI lathes on the market to choose from. And really, if you don't want to buy one, you might be able to find a makerspace or someone local who would be willing to give you a hand. Also, thank you to Rockler Woodworking and Hardware for supporting this video and being an active part of the woodworking community. The more people we have interested in woodworking, the better it is for all of us. If you are interested in any of the products I used in this video, you can learn more with the links in the description of this video. Check out my website at jayscustomcreations.com for almost 1,000 written articles, including the article for this video. And while you're there, be sure to sign up for my email newsletter to stay up to date with everything that I publish. I publish a lot more content on my website than what is published here on my main YouTube channel. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.